Hi, this is Sibila Extreme Vocal and why you feel pain while screaming. The first reason behind pain, discomfort or irritation inside your throat, larynx or other parts of your body while screaming is the improper placement for the distortion in a chosen technique, false chord or fry scream or whatever you do. The placement isn't precise enough. And what does mean placement? Placement is simply the source of the sound, in this case the distortion, false chord distortion or a fry distortion. It's the place from where the sound is coming from, and from its precision depends the level of our comfort during the vocal activity or the quality of sounds that we are making. So during the first days, weeks or even months of practicing a specific type of screaming, it's very important to take care of a proper placement. And what is a proper placement, you ask? It depends on the technique that you are practicing. In case of false chord, for the most of people, a proper placement is usually located in the area of the top of the larynx or slightly above the larynx. This is where people describe the source of the sound when they feel comfortable and they sound good. Problems like discomfort or bad sound usually appear when people try to aim a bit too high in the larynx or the vocal tract to get a growl or a false chord scream, or when they push the sound too low down their throat. When I will push my sound, my voice too low in order to achieve a growl, it will sound like this. It's so-called breath distortion. You simply push so much air through opened larynx and open throat that it's engaging your false vocal folds, your true vocal folds, sometimes epiglottis and arytenoid cartilages. Basically, everything that air is meeting is going to be engaged into the sound creation, but it's very breathy, it's very inconsistent, it's usually uncomfortable, a little bit irritating for the larynx and for the throat, and it's very hard to control the airflow and to add the compression and give that sound any kind of shape. It's simply something like this, just empty air that is flowing through your throat. Breath distortion. Instead of something like this. Instead of something like this. And in that case, it's caused by me trying to create the sound too low in my throat. Sometimes it's also created by trying to achieve too low a sound too early. Something like this. Okay, and when I try to push the sound too high in my larynx, I move the placement too high in my larynx, it will start to sound more like this. Like this. I am engaging now my epiglottis mostly instead of using my false vocal folds. Also, when I do a normal growl, the root of the tongue is not tightening. When I do the so-called cookie monster, which depends mostly on the epiglottis engagement and tension in the root of the tongue, instantly the root of the tongue tightens.
Clean sound would sound like this. La 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 la. Something like this. Get to the chopper. Yeah.
Something like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is actually closer to a blues or jazz growl. Like,
Red roses too. I see them gloom for me and you.
yes, this is a blues growl, a jazz growl. and it's created mostly by the engagement of the epiglottis, and at the same time tension and a bit moved backward position of the tongue. And it's definitely not a death growl or a false chord growl or a scream. A basic false chord growl can sound more like this. The root of the tongue is pretty relaxed. I don't feel extra strain or tension or effort inside of my larynx or throat. My neck is also pretty much relaxed. I use reasonable amount of core engagement and the breath support, but here everything seems to be pretty relaxed. Of course, it doesn't mean that the sound is like 100% effortless. I feel that my voice, my muscles are doing some work, but it's not overwhelming, it's not very intense, and it's not very heavy. I just feel it, I just do it, but it's pretty neutral. It can be quite challenging for the core muscles at first, throughout the first days or weeks of the practice, but it's definitely not very challenging or very intense for my voice box. Shortly, the sound is pretty open, relaxed. It might be a little bit breathy during the first days or weeks of practice, but it's not very heavy, not very intense for the voice box. The effort is mostly focused in the area of the core muscles. The better you are, the better compression you will be able to achieve for your false chord, growl, or a scream, which means that the sound will be a bit sharper, a bit less breathy, and it will be much easier to increase its intensity. But throughout the first weeks or days, it might be a little bit more breathy, a bit lighter. But remember that it will still have a specific shape and structure. It won't be just empty air that is flowing through your larynx like this. But the sound is not... It's not like this, it's not a Cookie Monster. More like this. Okay, and that's it for this week. Stay tuned for more reasons behind pain and discomfort while screaming. Thank you very much for today. Have a great day, have a great practice, and see you around.